My name is Amanda Maragos. I am one of your MCs today. I'm also a member of PAVRO. I am on the conference committee. I am also part of the EDI committee, and I am also a mentor in the mentoring program. And here's my co-host.
Good morning, everybody. How are you doing? My name is Helena Finn Vickers. I'm very happy to be your co-host for today. And my participation with PAVRO is 5 years on the board. Fabulous time I had, lots of learning. I was pleased to participate in the 2020 virtual conference planning committee. A joy that was. And I am now the DRAVA AVA liaison with PAVRO as well. So I want to stay connected. But to get us started today, I have a little joke. Amanda, my dear co-MC, why do the participants of PAVRO Live 2021 have to wear sunglasses?
Because you are constantly looking through different lenses in your role. All the time, all year, you are putting on different lenses because you've got so much to manage. You have to put yourself in so many different shoes, and you've got to look through different lenses to be able to do your job sufficiently.
And I also threw in there, for those of you in my age bracket, we have to wear sunglasses because the future's so bright, we gotta wear shades. Okay.
Ba-boom, boom. Welcome, everybody. We're really happy to have you here with us today. So you'll see, I'm going to put on my other pair. Congratulations to each and every one of you for taking time out of your busy schedules to invest in a conference where you will learn, hopefully laugh, and share some experiences with others and network. Your board of directors is very proud of the work that you've done with the LiVE 2021 conference. So thank you to the conference committee for ensuring that educational programs stretch throughout even a time like this, and that skills, and you're offering opportunities for skills to be enhanced in personal development for all of us who are working in this sector. It can be a challenging time for us to unleash our potential, but it looks to me that because you guys have been looking through different lenses throughout this whole year, you've all met that challenge with success. So congratulations to all of you. And now I'd like to introduce our PAVRO president, Alex Bassett. Alex. I'll just give Alex a moment.
Alex is having trouble unmuting.
Okay,
so maybe you could go ahead and do it for her, Amanda.
Well, here, yeah, I could.
Yeah,
I think there we go.
All right.
I like the little dance you just did. Your success dance.
Anytime we overcome some sort of technical glitch is always a cause for celebration, in my opinion. So welcome, everyone. My name is Alex Bassett, Alexandra, sorry, and I have the honor of serving as your president this year. I work really closely with the board to ensure that PAVRO is your provincial professional association for people who, like us, who engage and enable volunteers. I'm so happy to be welcoming you on behalf of the board and the team that has been, this is a small but mighty team that's pulled together this amazing conference. So before we start, can I see the land acknowledgement, please? This is a brand new piece that we've just developed. I just need to close my chat. And we're very, very proud of it. It is now on our website under resources, and it's also linked to our vision and values page as well. PAVRO recognizes that our work and the work of our members takes place on traditional Indigenous territories across Ontario. We recognize the ways in which those of us who are settlers have benefited from colonization and reflect on the attempted genocide of Indigenous peoples in Canada, which spans centuries. We call for the reconciliation of current injustices as well as those that have been carried out against Indigenous communities, which include but are not limited to broken treaty relationships. We commit to working towards creating a just, inclusive, and vibrant community for all. We encourage you to learn more about the traditional territories of the Indigenous peoples where you live, work, and play using tools like nativeland.ca. We also invite you to incorporate a land acknowledgement into your personal and or professional lives, and a sample template can be found on our website. We wish to express gratitude to Mother Earth and for the resources we are using, and honor all the First Nation, Métis, and Inuit people who have been living on the land since before settlers arrived and continue to do so. We invite you to reflect on this land acknowledgement, what it means to your personal story, and what the Truth and Reconciliation Commission's calls to action and the National Inquiry into Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women and Girls calls for justice mean to you. This land acknowledgement is a living document that will be updated as we learn and grow. We welcome your feedback so that we can strengthen this acknowledgement as well as relationships with Indigenous people and communities. Thank you. Oh, hang on, my script got covered up. So as you work through the next couple of hours with today's panel, no, not the panel, sorry, it's going to be two speakers we have today. I reflect back over this past year, which has been an interesting year to be president of PAVRO, that's for sure. Looking back, our board performed diligently to ensure that we met your expectations in a clear vision for the future. As we updated our strategic plan, increased the number of webinars, dug deep on the DEI topic, and adapted our membership options, combined with providing this learning opportunity for you in a unique environment. Wow. Again, we would like to thank our sponsors. So we have Charity Village, Better Impact, and we also have the Barrie AVA today and for this 3-day event, and we encourage you to visit their websites. And now turning it back over to our beautiful MCs.
What a compliment. Thank you so much, Alex. Your MCs are having a grand old time. Really hope you do in this conference experience too. Make it fun, make it your own. So to get us started, I've been asked to lead us through a bit of an exercise on using the poll feature. And those of you who know me are going to laugh hysterically that for some reason the PAVRO board and conference committee thought I could do this. It's going to be great. Don't worry. We're getting to know each other a little bit better and playing with the poll. So our first question, please. Okay. And hey, co-host.
Yes, I'm here.
I can't see a freaking thing with these sunglasses on.
Okay, I just switched on to some. All right, so our first question here is growing up. Did you grow up in a country, city, suburb, small town? That's the poll questions. Wow, I'm watching the bars. They're just like they're shaking so much. Let's see. You guys are almost city is winning a little bit right now, but country, suburbs, small town, you guys are pretty even there. So it looks like most of you, it's shifting a little bit, but it looks like 40% of you have grown up in a city, while country, suburbs, and small town, you're all in the between 17 and 21 percentile. Great. So I don't know if city wins in this case, but all right.
Okay. Next poll question. Okay.
Okay.
I can read because I
Can you
got
see it?
glasses
Good.
on now.
Good.
Okay, let's find out who's the dog lovers, cat lovers, other animals, or no pets for lots of good reasons. Oh my goodness. Oh, wow. Okay. Dogs.
I think no pets at all is even like more than cats.
You know, I really No,
Funny.
what the other animals are.
Oh,
People,
I think those are like maybe rodents, birds, reptiles.
oh wait, was that a judgy face? I apologize. Rodents and snakes. Yeah, no. Fantastic. All righty. Thank you for sharing, everybody. Let's
Somebody wants to ask if they can consider their younger brother as a pet. Go for it.
rats are not a pet.
The comments are funny. The chat's funny.
Yeah.
Actually, I wish we had time to go through the chat. It's funny.
Okay, let's end that one. Next poll question. Okay. See, everybody knows how to use this. It's fantastic. Okay, let's all dream. Let's all dream. It's going to happen. We stay hopeful. What's your favorite vacation spot? Beach, hiking, cultural activities, bus or cruise holidays? Cruise holidays. Although, gotta say, moving into this, our new reality, I'm not sure I'm going to feel comfortable going on a cruise, but I'll do it and let you know. How's that? I'll report back.
I'll come with you.
Only 2% of us so far.
We'll be the guinea pigs.
Oh, a beach. A beach with your sunglasses.
That's right.
That's right.
I've already switched out my glasses. This is my third pair already that I'm on.
That should be a poll question. How many pairs of sunglasses do each of us have?
Oh, I have so many.
But they're never in your car when you need them. All right, thanks so much. Okay, 55% beach. Fantastic. Wear your sunscreen. All right, and I do believe there's one more, maybe. No, that might be it.
I think that's it.
So thanks for participating. Thanks for knowing how to do polls. That's great. I hope that's part of our learning today. It is my pleasure to now introduce our two-time conference chair, past PAVRO board president, who's worked in the health and safety sector, and who has been a volunteer engagement professional for more than 40 years. Yeah, don't look a day old enough to be in this profession for 40 years. Kathleen Douglas, who is our facilitator for this session, while we discuss health and safety, bringing our volunteers back. What an important topic. So glad the conference committee pulled this together. Kathleen, over to you, and thank you.
Thanks so much, Helena, to Amanda for welcoming us today. When we first discussed the topic, I knew who asked on the subject. It's my pleasure to introduce two professionals and former colleagues who not only have wide knowledge of health and safety, but with education in secondary students and for health community development. With as a history of labor inspector, diverse, complex organizations, who has used expertise to provide health and safety awareness to help protect school students as they enter working years. Jill has worked as a community leader.
We're having some.
Here, my video.
Yep. We can see you and we can hear you. That's
awesome.
great.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for that lovely introduction, Kathleen. Because it's the health and safety session, I thought I would actually put my mask on first. And yes, this is like a not a non-work mask. It kind of matches with my outfit. What Kathleen may not have been able to say there is I've been in the health and safety business for over 30 years. It's been a long time. And I've done a lot of things with schools and teachers, and I've been an inspector and different things. So I'm really happy to be here today. Anyway, I started with this because so many of us have masks and we do our thing. Is Kathleen coming back in? Sorry. Am I okay to keep going? Okay. I'm in the weeds.
Go ahead.
Okay. There we go. I'm in the weeds here too in my background because I figured that's kind of where we are with COVID-19 right now. Anyway, I want to talk a little bit about masks before I start my presentation. So this is generally, you know, Frank Lyman kind of comfy mask. It's okay. I want to show you this one. more common to many of you. And why I'm doing all this is I have a really good point. We're putting our masks on, remember, we put them on by the earpiece. And as you know, we go up high on the nose and we tighten them in here. And if we have a face shield, here's my safety glasses for the day. There we go. What I want to remind you of before I get into all this is how to take care of these things properly. It may sound like I've got a sequence here, but I watch people on TV, even doctors, they'll go like this to take their mask off. And they'll fold it and put it down. I'm like, what? I can't believe it. So when you have a mask on, whoops, I'm putting on backwards, don't do that. Remember when you're talking to staff and volunteers, we take it off by the earpieces. Why? Because if the outside is contaminated by somebody else, that's where the germs are. If we've got something, it's on the inside. So we always take it off, and no, we don't handle it. We put it down safely or dispose of it, whatever we're going to do. The same with the face shield. Remember, if you've been in contact with somebody, it's dirty on the outside. So don't be touching it and fumbling it, because then the COVID-19 is on you. So I wanted to start with that little piece just before we got going, because I find it's a really common thing that people make mistakes with. Anyway, I'm going to roll into my presentation. I wanted to tell you that we've decided through all this, you can ask questions at any point in time. And I'd rather kind of do that as things come up. So we can use the chat room. I think Kathleen will be monitoring the chat room to see what's in there, or somebody else may have to fill in for her to let me know if there's a question in the chat. Or if you have a burning question, I don't mind you putting your microphone on and just asking it out loud too, because that's great. So without further ado, let me share my screen and bring you PAVRO 19, health and safety. Here we go. There we go. Whoops. Safe and start. Here we go. So what we're going to be talking about today is COVID-19 in the workplace world and how it's impacted us, how it impacts bringing volunteers back to work. So I'm going to start at the beginning. Just they say is always the best place to start. And these are things we've become very familiar with in the last year. We know we can't see this hazard. This is so confounding for people in the health and safety, because in the health and safety business, we're used to dealing with physical hazards, things you can trip over, things you can climb on, machine guarding, all these things. And the goal in health and safety is always to try and eliminate the hazard. We tell people that. When I was a health and safety inspector, I would get people to eliminate the hazard, get rid of it, guard the machine, get rid of the dangerous chemical. And now this is impossible. And we have to resort to the thing that we don't like to resort to in the health and safety world, which is that PPE. And we're learning. It's an interesting environment. When you think back to a year ago, we didn't know if every single person had this. We didn't know if it was on every single surface. So we're still learning now about transmission and how things work. And the difficult thing is that it's people. It's really personal. And people take offense. People have ideas. Is it you? Is it me? Who's got it? Should I be in contact with you? Should I not be? It's just confounded a lot of relationships socially and in the workplace. And of course, it impacts everything. And this is a new thing to workplace health and safety. Usually in the workplace, we dealt with things within our own workplace, things that were dangerous because of the processes and things we do. And now we've got the same hazard outside the workplace as inside the workplace, which in my now, oh goodness, I guess I'm up to 40 years in health and safety. I'm like Kathleen, I've never seen this before. And that's why it's more challenging for you. And that's why we're talking about it today at PAVRO, because it is something that's social as well as workplace. Again, first time ever. And the difficulty is we're dealing with people and people's habits. Just like I said, people have got the mask they always wear, or they do things in a certain way, and they think it's okay to be close to people that they know, and all these things. And the opinions, oh my goodness, the noise out there right now about, I think it's okay. I don't think it's a problem. COVID-19, it's a flu. It's not a big serious thing. Again, the type of no mask, the anti-maskers, there's people who want to wear a mask. There's people who kind of like are really into it and trying to really learn more all the time. And the people is the really difficult thing. Some are fearful of this, some are indifferent. And some only don't care. When I sit in horror and I watch some of the comments on Facebook posts, it's mortifying what people are saying sometimes. And it's when it gets to the point of being disrespectful. I don't really care. It doesn't affect me. It doesn't matter. Come over here, I'll breathe on you. So there's a lot of attitudes out there. And again, everything keeps evolving, and the regulations. And then we got people now who can't shop in certain places. We got workplaces limiting who can come in. We've got changes happening everywhere around us. And again, the difficulty is we're dealing with people and people's attitudes and people's behaviors and what they think and what they do and what their uncle says and what social media says. So it's become really noisy and really, really confusing to a lot of people, especially people who aren't involved on a daily basis. So what I thought I'd do today is kind of think about taking all that noise, all that confusion, and let's find a way to simplify it, because it is a noisy environment. No matter who I'm working with now, teachers, students, workplaces, they're all saying the same thing. The biggest challenge is that there's so many people who think they know better, more, or they heard from somewhere else. So let's think about you right now in your environment, if it's a hospital or other kind of organization, how you can make this really simple for volunteers coming into your workplace. So first, I'm going to give you, excuse me, a little health and safety lesson. You need to know that first and foremost in Ontario, that every place of work is first and foremost a workplace covered by the Occupational Health and Safety Act. So when we're talking about a hospital or a grocery store or whatever it would be, first and foremost, that physical place is a workplace for the people who are employed there. And this is fundamental to how we handle health and safety. So that employer has to make sure at all costs that those workers are safe. They're free of hazards. They can exercise their right to refuse unsafe work, that they have the personal protective equipment they need to be safe in that grocery store, in that hospital, in that school, no matter where they are. So that employer has to make sure that those workers are safe. Secondly, when they do that, they actually make it safe as well for the people coming in, for the volunteers, for the shoppers, for the students, for whoever it is. They create an environment. If it's safe for the workers, they try and make it safe for the other people coming in. And the other piece in this that you should be conscious of is that an employer can say, I don't want people coming in bringing this risk factor into my workplace as well, which is really interesting. If you had a community, a store, where you're making sure your workers are really protected and you let in everybody who didn't have masks on, you're actually putting your own workers at risk. So it's really interesting. I want you to understand the hierarchy. It's a workplace, workers are safe, which makes it safe for everybody else. And they in turn help make it a safe environment for the workers who are working there. And the bottom line is everybody has a right to a safe workplace. So that's kind of how it all works. And here's another little interesting piece. Wait for the rumble. What's really interesting is the Occupational Health and Safety Act, which I'm speaking about, which is the law of the land in Ontario for every workplace I believe that you're in, actually is it, what's the right word I'm looking for? Oh, supersedes, that's the word, supersedes COVID-19. So when you read the Reopening Ontario Act and all the things about COVID-19 in Ontario, at the very beginning it says, first and foremost, you have to comply with the Occupational Health and Safety Act. In other words, your first job is to make sure that that workplace is safe for workers as you integrate your COVID-19 requirements. So you're never thinking about, oh, what am I doing for people visiting or people shopping first? You're thinking about making sure your workers are safe first. So there's a hierarchy in health and safety, even with COVID-19. The only time I think it takes second place is in the workplace. So how does this all fit in for you? My best advice for you, sitting where I sit in the grass, in the weeds, is to treat volunteers the same as you treat all your paid workers. And sometimes there's a difference. I did work, after I retired, I did some work at a hospice for a while. And I know that there, I mean, volunteers were just, it was a bit different. it wasn't about safety, it's just how they're handled and what happens. It's like a separate even system that they're running as opposed to their regular workers. So I would think in this particular case, because of what I just told you in the hierarchy, my best advice is to treat them like paid workers. So, and that means that they also have a right to a safe workplace, but it also means that they've got the same responsibilities as workers. They have to work safely and make sure the workplace is safe for others. And it's just, isn't it about kindness? Treating people the way you want to be treated. So really, if you think about it that way, then you've got one set of rules for the whole company. It's not, here's our volunteer rules for health and safety, and here's ones for our workers. Everybody who's in there is on the same team when it comes to health and safety, and especially to do with COVID-19. And again, you always set the standards. If you determine that in your workplace, wherever it is, that you need 2 masks, and there's places that do, that's what you determine. And that's what the rule is. And that's what your staff follow. And that's what your volunteers follow. So it makes it really easy, whatever it would be. When I talk to people who are in the grocery store, or workplaces, they now have rules that you can't take breaks together. Like it used to be, it's 10:15, we're going to take a break. All 8 of us are going to the lunchroom. Now they're like, no, 2 people, here's your break time. And you have to sit at separate tables. So workplaces are setting up different rules. So whatever the rules you've set up for your workers become the rules for the volunteers as well. And I think one of the key things is what you're doing right now for your workers and thinking about volunteers, finding a way that they can be doing good work to help your organization without being face-to-face with people as well where you can. And I know some people are doing friendly visits on the phone, calling up people who are housebound they'd normally go visit, giving them a call, or doing virtual visits where they can. So, or putting up plexiglass shields. There's all kinds of examples, but I really think thinking about volunteers in terms of how can we keep them away from the hazard, just like we do for regular workers. And I bet you're probably already doing a lot of that. Any questions so far? Anything that's burning?
I was just thinking about the legislation. I'm calling from Thunder Bay Children's Aid as it relates to essential organizations during this pandemic. So our agency's been deemed an essential service. And so I'm under the assumption that our volunteers in some of their roles that are essential in crisis situations that we are also providing during lockdown essential services in person.
Yeah, so they would be. I bet if the volunteer wants to come in and do that, yeah, they would be, definitely would be essential as well. But again, they have to follow the health and safety procedures. It's still the hierarchy exists for people who are paid workers or volunteers. Is there more to the question? Sorry, that I missed.
I think we get a lot of different places for information, whether it's through our local health unit, or whether it's through the province, or through World Health Organization. There's so many places where we're getting information. How do we know which ones to follow?
Exactly. Let's go through it. And at the end of the day, the first is the Occupational Health and Safety Act, because I said that. Thanks, Kathleen. And the second would be the Reopening Ontario Act and what's required under that legislation. The legislation comes first, right? And then your local public health unit, of course, yes, is your third one. So I would stick to that. First, the act, which is, this is going to be a simple part of it. Reopening Ontario, and I'm going to touch on a couple of those things, and then your public health unit. So that would be your order of those. Okay, I'm going to go through this. Here's my, this is a different view of stuff. So here's what I'm putting together here as what you might be doing in terms of COVID safety for volunteers. This is what, maybe it's like a little kind of rule of how we handle things, how volunteers should be thinking coming into your organization. And here it goes. If they're coming in, they must do what you require them to do for their safety. They have to wear your PPE. And again, this is a bit of a challenge, and I'll kind of preempting myself, because they're used to wearing whatever they wear in public, whatever they wear. But now you're saying, no, you have to wear what we require. You have to follow the procedures that we have, regardless of what they are. And you may have other procedures. Who knows? People are talking about vaccination now as being something they want people who are vaccinated to be in their organizations. That's just starting right now. So whatever your requirements are, I'd be saying to the volunteers, first of all, when you're coming in to do this, these are the things you must do. By the way, when I get to the end of these 5 points, I think it's a really good screen grab if you want to actually grab the end of these, if you think they're important. The other thing that they're going to have to do to accept is that our safety protocols may keep changing. And I'm finding a lot of people in workplaces right now challenging that. Like, why did we do that last week and now we have to do this? And there are people who just don't adapt well. So you have to let them know, I could keep changing these. I may change the requirements next week and you're going to have to go with the flow. And don't come into work if you're sick. I'm finding that now, even with some of the co-op students I'm dealing with, they just call in sick and never think about, oh, this sets off a chain reaction if I'm sick. So let them know not to come in and to advise you if they're sick. Even if they've been in, maybe doing it in person, and now 3 days later they're sick, let them let you know, because you know that sets off a whole chain reaction as to who you need to notify, who they've been in touch with, that sort of thing. So they may not think about that in terms of, yeah, I'm sick, but I won't let them know. That was a couple of days ago. So let them know that they need to let you know if they are now sick. And to recognize that they may be stricter. I've kind of touched on that. To recognize what's good at home and good socially may not be good enough for work. And the kind of things that you require, you may require them to sanitize their hands at certain points in time all the time. And at home, they may not think of that, or in a social situation. So let them know that you may be stricter, but these are the requirements. And let us know, this is back to being treated like a worker. If they find any hazards or things that could be done better, goodness knows, sometimes a fresh set of eyes can see things. To let them know about, let you know about any hazards or things they find, and maybe some suggestions to make it safer.
Sue, just before you go on, there is a question in the chat box.
Okay.
We've just got a question going. What are your thoughts on insisting volunteers are vaccinated?
My thoughts on that. Okay, couple thoughts. It depends on, I mean, every workplace, back to my beginning, every employer can set standards for their workplace, right? First of all, they can say, everybody, I want to be, and this is the reason why, and if you, especially if you're working with high-risk people, that sort of thing, you may say that. But at the end of the day, and I got to tell you right now, I can tell you, I have a friend on the command table, provincial command table, and that's one of the things they're looking at right now, versus can you actually tell somebody they must be vaccinated, and what's their human rights on that? And if, because the school of thought still is, if you're vaccinated, it means that you may not be as sick as somebody who's not vaccinated if you do get COVID-19. So there's still a lot of thinking on that. But again, when it comes down to your workplace, you can set a standard. And if someone doesn't want to volunteer there, you know, that's how it goes. When it comes into the workplace situation, if you now insisted everybody who works at your place is vaccinated, you may be facing some human rights issues. But again, they're going to be sorting that stuff out. But for volunteers, you may have certain circumstances where you're working with seniors or that sort of stuff where they're all vaccinated, and it may just be a precaution that you want to put in place. But I think still we're going to be hearing more about that in the upcoming weeks and months. It's one of the hot issues they know is coming up very, very soon. So this screen here, again, I like doing this kind of things because you could screenshot this if you'd like, if you want to keep notes. It's better than writing everything down. You can do a screenshot or take a picture of this if you want to remember those little pieces. So when it comes down to it, I'm looking at my time, Kathleen Douglas, how am I doing here? Oh, I'm good. Okay, so when it comes down to it, here's my 3 things that I think you really need to make sure you have in your volunteer safety program. One is safety training, of course, and safety training, by the way, happens before they start doing their work, making sure that this information is given to them. You need PPE standards, which is a whole separate thing. And again, this may be fluid, it may keep changing, and you need continuous updates. So let's look at all 3 of these. What should your safety training program include? It should include your COVID-19 safety plan. Now, that's all part of the Reopening Ontario Act anyway, a plan for how many people can be in a room, what happens if someone gets COVID-19, all of that. So they should be aware of what your plan is for COVID-19. And they also should be familiarized in their training about your requirements for distancing walkways. Some workplaces you have to walk down this way on this aisle, this way on that aisle, or numbers of doors they can go in and out or not go in and out. of the number of people allowed in a room, if it's for breaks, whatever. And again, these are your standards, and your volunteers will obviously not be aware of them from where they've, if they've been at home or doing different things. And your sanitizing requirements. Is it, if they were going out to visit clients, like you were saying, do they need to want them sanitized when they get back in their car, when they leave their car, when they enter the room? Like, let them know what your expectations are, not only to protect them, but to protect the client as well. And the reporting requirements if they're sick. Let them know all these things up front, in writing perhaps, as well as verbally. Harassment policy. I do want to mention this. Every workplace in Ontario for the last 10 years has had to have a workplace bullying and harassment policy. And what that means is that you just don't allow people to be harassing, bullying, name calling, anything like that. And why I'm bringing it up, especially right now, because I'm finding, because of some people's attitudes, this is on the increase. Your volunteers, just like your staff, may be encountering people right now who are frustrated. We're all frustrated, who don't want to wear their PPE, who don't want to be stopped to be asked questions. I feel sorry for some of these people who are doing the screening in the grocery stores, because some people are mean. So your staff should be learning that there are limits to that. And if there is name calling, if there is a threat of physical violence, that sort of thing, to get a hold of somebody right away, they don't have to take it. Nobody's supposed to be harassed in the workplace. So let them know that you may be encountering people more frustrated than normal, and how to deal with that situation under your own workplace policy. And any other safety procedures, back to if they find any hazards that they're aware of, or they come into a situation in a home or with somebody, and say they've come across people they're working with, some of the clients, they're not wearing masks, they're not following procedures. How should the volunteer handle that? So you should have all kinds of scenarios and procedures in their safety training. The second piece is PPE standards. Again, what is required and what is not acceptable. And again, because we're dealing with a hazard that's in the workplace and outside of the workplace, people develop bad habits. People wear their masks, down here and upside down. And I know I saw a guy the other day with a metal piece on his chin. So make sure they know what the standard is and what needs to be worn and what's not acceptable for your organization. And what to expect if you find out they're not wearing their PPE as a volunteer, which is a whole new thing, right? We've never talked about people's personal habits like that. So, if you're finding out you have a volunteer who's all of a sudden, I don't want to do that, I'm kind of anti-mask, how are you going to handle that? And what's the expectations? What should they expect to happen to them if they're found or reported not to be wearing their PPE? And when it's required, when is it required for your workplace? Inside, outside, whatever, in different scenarios. And how to use or wear it, the safe handling, like I just said, don't let people be fumbling all over it and touching it and moving on and touching something else. How to dispose of it, when to dispose of it. And eye protection, I want to mention this, not just this, or your sunglasses, whatever. You may not know, but in the Reopening Ontario Act, it actually says, if you are working with someone who has their mask off, here's two scenarios: serving food in a restaurant, or helping feed a client, a resident, helping to feed them, they have their mask off. So do you know the Reopening Ontario Act says, if you're in a scenario like that, you got your mask on, but you're also required to wear eye protection. Oh, I found that out first last November. I was at a restaurant that helping out doing some work, and I realized they all had little safety glasses on. And when I asked why, that was the reason, because those people could be spitting, spewing when they're eating, and obviously can get into your eyes and you touch your face, whatever have you. So there you go. When others are unmasked, you need to have eye protection. One more, continuous updates. Make sure they're always in the know. If it's an email, if it's a quick Zoom meeting, whatever you've got, on any changes that have happened since the last time they were in. And that could be anything. And I put in there good news stories. This doesn't all have to be about, oh, things are falling apart and things are bad or whatever have you, but some good news stories too. I think we'll talk more about that in the second half of this, but any other changes that affect their safety, or just being in the know. I mean, I have a friend the other day that told me that I'm in Hamilton right now, that they had 35 patients transferred from Toronto ICU to Hamilton ICU. I didn't know that, but maybe if you're in a hospital scenario, it's letting them know what's really happening in your environment, what's going on. So the continuous updates are really, really important. I'm going to move to the next one. I think my half hour is pretty much done, but here's my last slide. And I think at the end of the day, if you just keep it simple, by keeping one policy procedure for all your staff and your volunteers when it comes to the health and safety pieces, keep everyone safe, keep them all informed, and keep positive. I mean, that's my mother's statement. I don't know, but sometimes as you realize that you get older, your mother comes out, you open your mouth, your mother comes out. She used to always say, this too shall pass. And, you know, it will. It may pass like a bad kidney stone, but it'll pass eventually. We'll get through all this. So I thought, let's take a second right now, Kathleen, if you don't mind, to we'll answer. We have a couple minutes. Any other questions or any comments that are in the chat box or live? I'm happy to take some questions.
Thanks, Sue. I really appreciate the fact that you've really sort of helped illuminate the layers of this very complex issue and where do we go to for advice and how to help us understand that the workplace legislation is actually the most important one to observe. And as far as questions in the
camera, shut my sound off.
That's okay. Sorry.
Sorry about that, Kathleen. You can keep going.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, this is an exciting morning, isn't it? Sue, I really appreciate the fact that you've brought your expertise of not only all those years as a Ministry of Labour inspector, but also someone who's continued to work in educating people and helping them understand this is a difficult time for everyone. No one's choosing to make bad decisions, but sometimes we just need some advice and guidance. And I think what you've given us today is really, really helpful. And I don't know that there's any outstanding questions here, but I know that when we go into our breakout sessions, there's going to be some very good discussions going on. So Sue, is there any last thoughts that you'd like to share with us?
Oh, I just want to say that's a 30-minute quick overview to a very complex situation. So yeah. I'm happy. I mean, you'll see my email address. You'll be able to get a hold of that. If you have questions individually you want to ask me, I'm quite happy to help you out with anything specific, because I know your scenarios are also different. We've got, 117 people on here with 117 different scenarios. And this was a quick overview. So I'm happy to individually answer any questions and answers that you have as well. And I'll see you in the chat. I'll see you in the breakout room later.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that very much, Sue. And you know, it's great to have somebody who actually knows what they're talking about when it comes to this topic, because there's so many opinions and so many different ideas. So I think that's really helpful for us. And I think we're now going to turn it over to Angel, who has a great understanding of not only the community and working in the not-for-profit sector, but also has done a great job providing